Morning everybody, welcome back. Saturday morning shop day, and planning on working on the GS Pro Street build, my dad's last bike. Kind of working my way from the front to the back, I guess, on this thing. We got that front end fitted and the wheels, or the front wheel rather. So today we're going to continue working on that. We need to make some brake caliper spacers on the lathe to accommodate the increased brake rotor diameter from the CBR wheel. We got our front fender in, which is going to require some custom mounts and probably some modifications to the actual fender, being that we're running the flipped brake calipers. So we'll probably pop the wheel off, get the tire put on, and then we can start looking at how that fender is going to mount. Our handlebars came in. We got the carbon fiber bars and the clip-on handlebar mounts. So we'll look at fitting those. We need to modify the top triple tree because it's got a mounting point for an ignition switch, which we're not going to use on this bike. And I don't know what else. I doubt we'll even get all that done. Just kind of depends on how the day goes, as usual. So that's it. I hope you guys are enjoying this bike. Like I said, these Pro Street bikes is really what I'm going to be focused on this year. I mean, obviously we'll be doing the bikes that we're building for customers, but I love these bikes and I just don't see them around as much, and I want to try and change that. Whether or not I'll be able to, who knows. I'm hoping this channel will help that, attracting the right people who enjoy these bikes, seeing more of them out at the shows and out at the bike nights and stuff like that. So we're going to make it our goal to kind of bring attention to these things. And I got a couple of ideas for some kind of cool builds for the rest of the year going forward. Obviously the GS is a pretty standard bike to use for a Pro Street, but I got a couple cool ideas for some real cool ones I've never seen before. And you know, something along the lines like the Shadow. Again, I've never seen that, probably never see another one. I don't know. It is what it is. I would love feedback from you guys, so please comment and let me know what you're thinking about these Pro Street bikes. Do you like them? Are you more of a chopper bobber guy? Do you hate Jap bikes? You know, whatever. I'm always curious. I'm always wondering how the trends are going to go in the industry. It's not always easy to follow. You know, performance baggers is kind of a big thing right now, which to me sort of lends itself into the Pro Street realm. So maybe that's kind of where we're going. You know, the cafe racer stuff kind of came on and then petered out super quick. And I don't know. Anyway, I'm curious what everybody else thinks, so please let me know. Other than that, we're going to just get to work. Alright, so we got our caliper mounting bolts in. I got them screwed down to where we're going to want the caliper to mount. We're just going to measure in between here. We got 237. Here we got 259. So obviously I don't have these screwed in exactly right. So we're going to make these 1/4 inch. Simplest way to do it. Obviously we need 4. They need to be a little bit more complicated than just a straight spacer, because the front end uses these dowel pins to locate the caliper correctly. So we're going to make the spacer, then we'll counter bore one side of it to accept this dowel pin, if this will focus. There you go. It'll accept this dowel pin, and then the other side of the spacer will turn a little nose on it to mimic this dowel pin. So it'll be stepped on the inside and then stepped up on the outside, which will make everything fit nice and snug. We'll take this with us over to the lathe. This will give us our outside dimension. We know we need our 1/4 inch thick, and then we're just going to mimic this caliper boss here, which is 946 thousandths, probably 25 millimeter, 24 millimeter. So we'll start with some 1-inch aluminum, clean up the outside. That'll get us to that dimension, and we'll start machining up our parts. All right, so we got 2 spacers turned up here. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this caliper off, check our fitment, make sure these work how we want. If they do, then we'll make up the other 2. All right, there we go. Caliper's on. I mean, it's not bolted down tight, obviously, it's just hand tight, but see we got our spacers in there. Our wheel turns perfectly. I can see the rotor is centered in the caliper from up top here. And so that's definitely just what we want. Go ahead and turn up the other 2, and then we'll have our brakes fully mounted on this front wheel conversion, GSXR front end, CBR 1000 wheel and brake rotors. All right, so there you have it. We got both our calipers, left and right, centered up, spaced away, and it's gonna work just how we want. So I guess next up on the agenda is to get the tire mounted on here. And once we get the tire mounted, we can start looking at the front fender. All right, so we got our tire mounted up. We're running a 90/80/17 Michelin Pilot Street. A lot of garage racers use this tire. It's the shortest, tiniest, lightest weight, 17-inch street tire. I had talked in an earlier video about remaking the front axle. It is a steel axle, but I threw it on the scale while we had it out. It weighs 14 ounces. I don't think I can do much better with aluminum. Obviously, I have to make the aluminum thicker wall, and by the time I go through all that, I just don't think it's gonna really benefit us all that much. So that's gonna be a project we don't spend our time on. We got all that set, looking good. We got our calipers bolted down. We got our little factory replacement GSXR front fender. It's ABS plastic. Obviously, I believe these arms are going to have to come off because they're going to be in the way of our calipers. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is try and sneak it in here with these in place, just kind of pulling them out of the way, and then see what we end up with. So actually, I think we might be able to keep them. We might just have to notch the front out here. And okay, we might be having a nicer looking fender than I thought. I was a little bit worried about it looking really kind of janky if we had to cut off up here, but I think we can come down here, just notch, smooth this out, and get a fit there. We'll eliminate. Here is our old fender mounting tabs where these holes used to bolt on. Alright, so these are the tabs here that used to bolt up here. Obviously that isn't going to work anymore, so we'll probably end up just cutting this one off, and then we'll utilize this. We'll make a bracket to hold the back of the fender here,
and then there's the mount for this tab is underneath here. So once we get this notched and fitting good, we'll make a bracket off of there to come down and bolt to these two. So I'm actually pretty surprised how well this is maybe going to work. So I'm going to mark our height here, and we'll probably cut this a little bit at a time, you know, so that we can remove the minimum amount necessary. So I think we'll try that and see. Start there. We're just going to work our way up, removing as little as necessary to get it to fit. Alright, so we got our first side. We just rough cut it. Obviously we'll finish cut, you know, and smooth it all out, but I just... Alright, that's really going to work amazingly well. I'm going to notch the other side to match, and then we'll start to figure out maybe the mounting point for the back or something, and just kind of take it one step at a time. This isn't anything I've ever done before, so it's just kind of my process of figuring, you know, you just keep working until you get it how you want. Alright, alright. So we got both sides cut. Let's get in underneath there. Obviously we don't want it to touch the tire, but it can hug the tire real tight. Alright, I am super happy with how this is looking. I think what I'm going to do is make our rear mounting tabs first. Obviously one here. I think what we'll do is we'll put the bolt in from the back side. We can just do a straight little aluminum tab. Slight maybe offset bend in it. Shouldn't be anything real major. And then once we have that, we'll figure out this front mount. Coming off of here, it's going to have to come out and down, but still not really a major thing. I really thought this was going to be a lot more difficult. Then once we get it mounted, we can work on trimming this up a little bit. Maybe we'll radius this corner, you know, obviously radius in here, so that it looks aesthetically pleasing. Once we know it's going to clear everything and work how we want, then we'll get it to look how we want. And I think, do I want to do that? If I bring the bracket down to both of these, it'll keep it from being able to pivot. So I think instead of cutting this off, which isn't going to save us any weight, we're going to make a bracket that goes from here to here to here, and that'll keep it all clocked and oriented how we want and won't allow it to pivot at all. Alright, so we're going to make up our little bracket drawing. As always, just, you know, it's a little simple drawing is all I'm trying to accomplish. Just a couple simple measurements so I can go to the plasma table and transfer them over. So, alright, so the two standard fender mounting holes are 2.4 inches apart. Here to here, 2.4 inches, and then from here to here we've got here we've got 1.275, and then it's slightly offset to the front. by about 3/8 of an inch. So that's all we really need here. The offset thickness is going to be a pretty good jump. So we'll probably do that. Let me think here. Actually, maybe we'll just make it straight and then do a small spacer, which should be fine. And then I'll figure out, I think we can probably slip a nut in behind there. Be a little bit of a pain in the ass to take on and off, but it shouldn't come on and off too much, so that'll be good. We'll just come up, we'll make it out of some 1/4 inch aluminum or something like that, so it's rigid but light. So, all right, we're gonna head into the computer and draw up some mounts.
I do appreciate it.
All right, so we got our fender brackets cut. Gonna go ahead and get the first one put on, and then we can measure for our spacer. I'll bolt these in from the inside. All right, so we got our bracket there. This lines up nice. I think we'll pop this out and we'll put a riv nut in the fender. And that'll give us a nice threaded insert. Back this off here. We're going to put a riv nut in the fender on both sides here. That'll give us a nice threaded insert, and then we can measure up for our spacer and get this back mount completed. Alright, so we're going to get our riv nuts installed here. Just drill out the hole in the fender. Install the riv nut. Squeeze her down, release, and unthread. Alright, so there we go. 2 little riv nuts in the fender. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall it and get it bolted on these back mounts. Alright, so we got our back mounts in, snugged up. Now we got to try and figure out these front mounts, which are going to be a little more tricky. Although, I'm thinking, actually now that I say that, they may not be. We might be able to be able to do a similar design and then just with a spacer to hold it out where we want. This may work out a lot simpler than I thought. I'm going to try and make one up and see how that goes. Basically just going to be a slightly modified version of what we got. Alright, so we modified our brackets, cut them up a little bit. I'm going to head over to the lathe, make a couple 1-inch spacers, and we'll see how good we are. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this fender off one more time. We got our spacers cut, we got our mounts, and we're gonna see if everything lines up. Alright, so looks like we got our wheel swap all complete. We got our wheel, our brakes, all our custom parts machined. We got our fender mounts made. I got fender mounted, tire on. And once we radius these parts in, once the fender's cleaned up and painted, it's going to look like all this was made this way, which is always our goal, is to try and match a factory look, but with custom parts. Alright, so last little thing for the day. Gonna go ahead and get the bars mocked up. Got these really cool, lightweight clip-on bars. And then I also got some carbon fiber. It's kind of hard to see it, if it'll focus. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Carbon fiber handlebars. So gonna slip these in. I don't know exactly where they'll go, so I'm just gonna lightly snug them up for now. Put this on. Real quick, I'm gonna go weigh. I want to weigh the carbon fiber versus the aluminum bar.
He sold his boat for $4 grand. I'm like, what do you think? What do you think?
And he's like, I think I want a boat.
I think I want a boat, yeah. Fucker.
So, alright, so we got the carbon fiber bar weight up versus the aluminum. Saves about 2.5 ounces per side, so 5 ounces. So, it's, you know, quarter pound. Just about, actually a little over a quarter pound on the two bars, so that's not too shabby. It's going to help us get to our goal. You know, remember, we're trying to get this thing to weigh under 400 pounds, which is going to be quite an interesting challenge. But we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. Alright, simple little thing. Got our bars mounted. Really happy with how those are looking. And man, overall really pumped on how this bike turned out, or this front end rather, not the bike. We're a long way from how the bike's going to turn out, but anyway, bars are on, fenders mounted. We just got to clean up, trim that. That will do when we're doing the finish work. Calipers are mounted, rotors are spaced correctly. Alright guys, that's a wrap for today. Got done, I think everything we talked about at the beginning of the video. Honestly, now I can't even remember what we laid out. Oh, the top triple tree did not get modified. Still kind of a little torn on how I'm going to do that. I may look and see what's available for an aftermarket top triple tree. Kind because the way that's manufactured, it's going to be hard to get it looking good. So that's kind of still left up in the air. We'll see how it goes from here. But really happy with that fender mount situation, and I'm really happy with how much of the fender we got to leave in place with the inverted calipers. I was a little bit concerned about it looking kind of stupid if we had to cut too much of the fender off, but fender mounts really went pretty simply. You know, same with the caliper spacers. That worked out perfectly. Got our dowel pins all fit and everything snugged up. Our titanium hardware, saving us a bunch of weight. Carbon fiber bars, saving us almost what do we say, a quarter of a pound, just over a quarter of a pound. So that's really impressive. I'm happy with that. And the overall weight savings, I can't even imagine what it's going to be, the stock GS front end versus this new front end. Once we break the bike down, I have a bunch of stock parts we're going to use in weigh to make our comparisons. I find all this stuff interesting, so hopefully you guys do too. Anyway, we're getting out of here. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we hope to see you next time at Gatti's Garage.